Hi, my name is Bill, and my daughter Selena is learning Spanish on Duolingo.
I like that little green owl. I've been cheated by that little green owl.
The other day, I sat down for a solid 10 minutes, and I aced all these exercises. But here's the problem. I don't speak Spanish at all. I was just, pattern matching my way through her lessons. This was largely by recognizing familiar words, not actual understanding. Puedes empezar a trabajar. Yes! But this video isn't about me cheating Duolingo. It's about a hidden problem that could be holding your child back. So today, I'll show you how Duolingo might be silently sabotaging your child's language learning journey. I'm Bill.
And I'm Selena.
And we are Raised in Thailand. For over a decade, I taught languages the traditional way, with textbooks, memorization, and set lessons. I witnessed firsthand the struggles and the frequent disconnect from the language itself. So when I observed how Duolingo approached Selena's Spanish learning,
It's like saying, do you like tennis? ¿A ti te gusta el tenis? But Daddy, this is so boring.
it seemed very familiar. It had that same echo of surface-level engagement I'd seen so many times before in classrooms. Think about it. How is Duolingo structured? It's largely a series of multiple choice questions, isn't it? You are presented with a phrase and you select the translation. But here's the crucial point. Oftentimes, the correct answer can be found without real understanding, simply by eliminating obvious wrong choices or perhaps recognizing familiar words, even if the full sentence might be hard to understand. Rather than engaging in natural understanding of the language, it feels like we're just piecing together some random fragments, almost like a puzzle. And this brings us to the first sneaky issue. Much of what appears to be learning on Duolingo is actually just pattern recognition. Once you grasp the structure, the types of questions, it's like cracking a code. It becomes less about linguistics and more about acing a multiple choice test, right? Does that resonate with your own experience, or perhaps what you observed with your own kid? Beyond the pattern recognition, my second concern using Duolingo for kids is this. Just think about a traditional offline learning program where you start with greetings and then you learn words or phrases that apply to real life and that is relevant.
Why don't you support us by liking this video?
I did a little experiment. I made a profile for a 13-year-old boy to learn English.
With milk and sugar.
And ask yourself, why do they start teaching phrases like related to, would you like tea or coffee? Is that really what a 13-year-old cares about? I think not. This shows a real problem with Duolingo. It often focuses on vocabulary that isn't practical or interesting for your kids in their real lives, even though Duolingo know your age from the profile, right? It's like learning old words from a book instead of what you're actually in need of to speak right now. This makes the learning harder for your child. However, this review of Duolingo's value for your kid, I'm not going to make it all one-sided. There's always two sides to one coin, right? So in a couple of minutes, I'm going to share with you all the positive aspects of this learning platform as well. Now let's talk about something incredibly clever Duolingo does. And it's something you probably noticed in other apps too. Duolingo rewards with points, streaks, and cool animations. This gives your child a fake feeling of making progress. Duolingo is using the same, dopamine rewarding system that social media is using. This teaches their brain to be easily distracted, not to think deeply. I don't think it's a coincidence that the day Selena stopped using Duolingo, she wanted to play computer games. But there's more. This fast-paced, fun learning style makes your brain expect instant rewards, right? You know, it can even lead to that drama queen effect kids often have when they are taken off the screen. We talk more about some unexpected effects and how to avoid it in our video on screen time effect on children. So definitely check that out too. But if you have a toddler or preteen in the house and you had to pull them screaming from the couch, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Don't forget to subscribe or my stuffed animals will be disappointed.
And if all this wasn't enough, maybe let's talk about what I call the robotic teacher problem. This comes from Duolingo's critical lack of real-world use and just good feedback. Here I'm sitting at my laptop, just going through some Duolingo assignments, and we're going to discover some actual errors here.
Sola skinner.
Okay, do you see that? It says sola skinner, but it's actually wrong. It should be sola skinner. So it's a tonality difference. And this means that there might not be native people speaking here. Probably not. So now I'm gonna talk so that AI can assess whether I say it right or wrong. Vi sitter I sola, which is correct, but now I'm gonna try to say it wrong and see what happens. Vi sitter I sola, and it got it right. In my opinion, the audio speech function should not have been in the app when it's obviously not working. It would have been better to make it accurate before rolling it out on the platform. It's one thing for the voices to sound a bit flat or unnatural. That we can live with. But what happens when the app accepts pronunciation so flawed that a native speaker wouldn't even recognize what's being said here? Okay, now I'm gonna try to make it even worse.
Mora mi leser ei interessant bok.
Mora mi leser ei interessant bok. Okay. What habits do you want your kid to be forming? Not to mention the real-world consequence when they try to communicate like that? Can you see how this becomes more than just an inconvenience? This bad habit could become incredibly tough to undo. And it goes beyond just pronunciation as well. Have you ever noticed some of the sentences Duolingo generates? While grammatically correct, they can often be, well, totally weird, to put it bluntly. Especially when bridging between very different languages. Take, for instance, a phrase like, "The dog is eating my homework." Grammatically sound, yes. But when would they ever need to use such a sentence is what you gotta ask yourself. This highlights another significant gap. Duolingo offers no guidance on cultural aspects of using the language. Your child could actually construct a perfectly grammatical sentence that is entirely out of place or even offensive in a real-world context. It leaves you wondering, doesn't it, about the true value of what they're learning? Eventually, you might have to wake up from the Duolingo dreamland. We have explored many of Duolingo's hidden traps. But the most fundamental issue, the deeper problem, lies in how it teaches the brain to learn, or rather, to not learn effectively for real-world use. Get ready, because we're diving into the underlying flaw of Duolingo's seemingly simple approach. My years of teaching languages to kids showed me that they learn by doing and by speaking. But Duolingo is mostly about taking information in. And don't get me wrong, this is the single most important aspect of language learning at the beginning stage. But once they are past the A1 stage, your kids should be doing more than just recognizing, picking, and matching. Unless you are right there, making them say every single phrase out loud, their mouth isn't forming the words. And their brain isn't practicing how to build sentences on the fly. It's like learning to read music but never actually playing an instrument. The brain pathways for speaking, making sentences, and sharing unique thoughts stay undeveloped. This is crucial because true language acquisition often happens through a process of hidden understanding and immersion, not just recognition. But we'll get to that breakthrough in a moment. So, if Duolingo has all these problems, does that mean we throw it out completely? The secret is knowing how Duolingo can actually help with real-world language learning. Not as the only answer, but as just one part of a much bigger process that most parents don't even know about.
So how should we learn, Daddy?
This question brings us back to Selena. I saw her pick up English incredibly fast. I call it the 21-day miracle, but it was largely due to her hidden understanding that this was possible. But this experience changed my view on language learning altogether. I saw a different, more natural path that directly addressed the pitfalls we just explored. And I'll share this approach with you very soon. Before we reveal that full blueprint, it's important to acknowledge that Duolingo isn't entirely without merit. In fact, understanding its strengths is key to get the best out of it. So let's quickly talk about all the positive aspects of Duolingo before we see how we're going to put it to use. First of all, it's free to use. That's a huge plus because it means anyone can give it a try without spending a dime. Secondly, it can catch the attention of a child who wasn't particularly interested in learning languages in the first place. Its game-like approach with points and streaks like we talked about, and these fun characters can really hook kids and make language learning seem more like play than work. Third, the structure in the app makes it more time efficient. It's designed so you can easily sit down and learn something even if you only have a few minutes, right? My fourth point here is that almost no matter what language you are looking to teach your kid, Duolingo can take you very quickly into the world with whatever letters and sound it has. It offers a wide range of languages and give you instant exposure to new alphabets and its pronunciation. I recommend using Duolingo first and foremost as a repetition tool, especially when you are past the beginner stage. Also, you can use it to find out what language your kid wants to learn and maybe solidifying some of the excitement around a newly discovered language. However, if you ignore my recommendation and you still want to go ahead and use Duolingo as your main tool, I can give you some pointers that will improve the learning curve for your kid.
Stick around, because we will soon reveal our secret trick.
Number 1, focus on how well they engage, not just how many lessons or streaks they get. Tip number 2, make them actively speak and repeat during Duolingo exercises. Make them say it out loud. That's the secret. You can also connect what they learn to real things around them. Number 3, if you know the language yourself, use Duolingo to start conversations. You, as an adult, can expand on the context and bring it from Duolingo into the real world. Knowing how Duolingo fits into the bigger picture in language learning is just a start. The real breakthrough happens when you combine it with a complete plan for natural language learning. Now you understand how Duolingo can actually be a part of the solution rather than just a cheat. But to truly overcome those hidden traps and avoid the pitfalls we discussed earlier, you need the complete blueprint. You won't be able to genuinely apply these insights until you grasp the full step-by-step method we've perfected for natural language acquisition. Go check our How to Teach Your Child a Foreign Language for Free video. It gives you the exact plan for using the hidden immersion phase and avoiding problems